Thanks for joining us today on The Perfect X. My name is Sherry and my co host Lee.
Hello.
And today we're going to talk about dating with new age technology versus when Lee was dating, which was like a
Wow.
thousand years ago.
Off to a good start.
Let's talk about how old you are, Lee.
Let's not skip that.
Well, first of all, how are you? How's your week? I know you just had a big surgery.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's not really major, but yeah, I just had my sinus surgery thing. It's just because I've always had breathing problems, like ever since I was a baby. So I finally decided just to bite the bullet. It was one of those things where you can live with it, or you can go have the surgery and see if it should. I mean, almost everybody gets like quite a bit of improvement. So it
I'm
takes
just
a while
gonna
though.
I'm just gonna answer the fact that you're white because if you were Persian, everyone would know this is like code for nose job.
Oh, is it? No, yeah, no, it's nothing cosmetic, and it looks the same.
Unfortunately, right? You
Yeah,
had to
yeah.
go under and you came back with the same shit.
I know it was not very dramatic, but and there's a lot of like swelling still, so like I still don't really feel like that much different than before. It can take like several weeks to kind of see any big improvement. So
For how you breathe or how you
yeah,
look.
like how you breathe, like no, looking is never going to improve. I don't think it's all downhill from here.
I noticed. I'm
It's
glad
a
you said
it's a downward spiral.
it. I'm on that same spiral with you, old man. Don't worry. Well, thanks again. We're really excited to have you on our season two and leading on. So okay, today, I mean, you never dated when it was online, huh?
No, I was thinking about that. I don't think there was anything like that. It was like yeah, no, it was like before Facebook and everything. So I don't think there was much in the way of like websites and whatever.
Online. Well, do you know that the first online dating, at least in Vancouver that I know of, and he's from Vancouver, and I think he had like a hot wife girlfriend. He's like a total engineer nerd, like worse than what like who is that guy? Elon Musk looked like back in the day. He looks like way worse than that.
Oh yeah.
But the original like online dater or famous one, we should say, originally famous one was Plenty of Fish. Did you ever hear about that?
Yeah, okay, I knew about that. I don't know when was that around?
Like a long time ago. Like it's really old. And I don't know a lot of Americans that use it, but I guess they do because before I moved to LA, and it was a website. It wasn't an app like
Here, I
at
just
back
Googled it.
then.
It said launched in 2003. So I guess it was around, but I'd never heard of
I
it.
guess I mean it was before I was even on Facebook because I think I was on Facebook in like 2008, 2009.
Yeah, I think it came out in like 2006 or 7. For 7, I think, Facebook. Yeah, so this was around it says it was launched in 2003, this Plenty of Fish. I don't know how popular it was back then, but yeah, it says Vancouver, BC headquarters and that Marcus Friend or something is the founder.
Yeah, you should Google him. What he look like.
Oh
You
wow, yeah.
understand why he
I just
couldn't.
clicked on the picture. Wow. Oh no.
Then you understand why he needed the website.
He must be doing well financially though. I don't know if is that website still going?
Well, that's the crazy thing. So I know that it was really popular in Vancouver. I don't know because when I moved to LA, which is when I really, right before I moved to LA, I started going on online websites. So 2013 was when I first started going on dating apps. And I only originally did it on Plenty of Fish because I wanted to see what kind of guys there were in LA
Oh, okay.
and you could pick your location. But once I moved out here was also like sort of the beginning of Tinder, but I was so late to that game. Like because they said Tinder was like a hookup site, I and even though to be honest with you, I haven't really had that experience on Tinder. Like I really it's Tinder is what you make it to be honest with you. But um
Is that the
Plenty of
main
Fish was
thing
hot.
now? Is that that's the main one that's the Google of dating sites, I guess. Eh?
No, not anymore. Not, it's like the Yahoo of dating sites.
Oh, it
It's
is.
like,
What's the hot ticket now then?
it's like Hinge and Bumble.
Hinge, I think I've heard of, but the other one I don't know.
Well, it's kind of crazy because Hinge has been out in at least in LA for a long time, but I'm just noticing that my friends in Vancouver are just slowly getting onto Hinge.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of things are geographical. Like when I was a kid, everybody was on MSN Messenger.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
all the kids I knew from Ontario, that's a whole other story, but like they were on ICQ. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, yes. Look, so listen.
Yeah, yeah. So they were all like, "What the hell are you guys using on MSN for?" And I'm like, well, it was very. I feel like it was very geographical. Like they didn't even consider MSN, and they were all on ICQ.
And Americans have no idea what ICQ is. Like when I try to tell people, I'm like, don't you guys know that noise? They're like, no, I've never fucking heard of that.
Yeah, that was like I remember that was that and MSN were like kind of neck and neck there for a while. I mean, even
I
MSN was still going till Facebook Messenger picked up.
well, I remembered like we only had one computer in the house. You know how like back in the day you had one computer in
Yeah.
the computer room, and my brother and I would have like had to share it, and he would like leave the room to go to the bathroom, and I would make that noise, and he would come running back because he would think he had a message. But
Yeah.
you know,
Or
but
did you have the dial-up internet, or you like that was before
oh
your
yeah,
time?
fuck it. No, man, that was like definitely my time. We're not
Yeah.
that different part in age. Oh yeah, the whole dial up, everything.
Yeah. So like you couldn't
But
nobody could get through to your house for 3 days because somebody was on the internet.
yeah, well, we had two phone lines, like
Oh
two
yeah,
different
that was
numbers.
baller. Yeah.
we we did have two different phone lines, but yeah, so yeah, Plenty of Fish was that, and then Tinder is like definitely now the Yahoo. Although I still use it sometimes, but I'm curious. So, what do you know anybody who married on from online, or
I
do you,
do.
or
Yeah.
do you?
Actually, a guy I worked with met his wife on Plenty of Fish.
No
And
way.
they brought it up at their wedding, like it was kind of funny or whatever. But yeah, they're still married. They live in somewhere in Ontario, in Alberta. But yeah, they met on Plenty of Fish and then just started dating and went from there. Got married, 2 kids, a whole bit. Yeah, they're the one
Plenty.
that jumps to mind.
Let me tell you something. Plenty of Fish was an actual full time job because, like, now you scroll, right? You're like left, right, left, right.
Yeah,
Plenty of Fish, you had to like open the profile, read the profile, see what their job is, see what their so like it was like you had to literally click through every single person and scroll on your computer and do it. It was a full time job. It
yeah, I
like
bet.
literally it took like I remember my first job in LA, like at least 4 hours a day in my office, I was devoted to Plenty of Fish. Like,
I feel like you're way
it
more
was,
into the hunt than the catch, though.
I used to be. I
No, I
used to,
feel like
yeah,
yeah, you're
yeah, yeah.
definitely just like okay, that was catch and release, right? Yeah,
It's so funny you say that because when I moved to LA, like I befriended a couple. Most of my friends were guys that I met online. Like I didn't know a single person when I moved out here, and then I would befriend them. And then as they got to know me through the years, they used to always say like, "You're the 2 week wonder." Like no matter how good it's going, exactly the 2 week period, you drop the guy. And I was like, "Oh my god, it is." It's so funny. I loved the hunt. I loved it. And like the more someone didn't acknowledge me, the more I
I can't
I
picture
was
you not being acknowledged. I feel like you were always heard.
well, the guy that I dated that was like my worst relationship ever was because he said to me, he's like, I will never date you. He's like, I will never be your boyfriend. I was like, oh,
Oh, I
yeah.
just set you
Well,
off. Yeah, yeah.
oh, yeah. And it was like the worst. I mean, I always say like my best relationship because I learned a lot, but the worst emotional, relationship. And I always say like that fucking sentence, it just had me going. Like, no matter what happened, I was like, no, 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 there's an end goal here. And
It's a matter of
it
principle at that point. I think you're just like, yeah,
and like I told you, like he called me fat or whatever.
yeah,
Like I listen to these podcasts sometimes, and I hear these girls, and they say things like I listen. Do you remember the girls next door, Hugh Hefner's girlfriends?
yeah.
They have a podcast, and they always say to them, like, "Why did you?" To one of them, like the main one, "Why did you stay with him? He was so bad." And she's like, "Once I had invested like like she had slept with him. She's like, once I felt like I'd already been used in the situation, I wanted to get something out of it. And I
Yeah.
feel like I can get that. Like once he has embarrassed me, even though I'm the one that told everybody what he said, I had to get something out of it. And it was a commitment and him begging for a relationship. Just I can relate with that kind of thing. But
Yeah. Yeah. If they're already, they've already got that far, you may as well like reap the rewards.
yeah. Actually, also what's crazy is I listened to a podcast and Hugh Hefner's son met his wife from Bumble. So people really do meet online. Like I actually think, and people always say like, "Oh, Tinder's a hookup site," but I was on Tinder the whole time and I never had a hookup. But like, I'll put it this way: like, what the difference is, like the way someone messages you. I had a girlfriend who like the guy would be a total perv. She kept messaging, and then he only wanted sex. I'm like, well, you got that from like the first few messages, like
Yeah. Can't they just,
you
don't
know.
they have a thing saying like what your intentions are, like what you're looking for if you're looking for like a casual relationship or like whatever?
now, but they didn't back in the day. It's like evolved. It's like it was something that had to evolve. Like you had to get fucked over by a million people, and people I guess complained,
Yeah,
and then they
that's
started putting
it's fine if like
filters.
your intention is to go in there and hook up with people, like that's fine if that's the name of the game. But if some people, if it's like marketed as a dating site, and people should at least be able to put on there like, yeah, I'm not looking for this or that or whatever.
I think it's totally fair. Exactly. Everyone, if you, I think if you, but even there's guys who say they want a relationship on the thing, and then they'll message you something perverted.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
usually it always starts with like, "Hey babe," and I always answer back like, "Babe's a pic,"
yeah.
like,
These
like
guys are. It's weird. Like I think people don't consider like what being on the internet in general is just brings out like a weird side of people. Like
it
just
does.
the between like the um, you know, bullying and stuff, and then the dating side of it and all that. Like I look at some of these comment sections, like some of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life are like in the YouTube comment sections. Like I just
I've never
die,
seen
right?
those, but
Oh
I've
my
heard like,
god. I'm like wheezing like reading some of these comments. The most brilliant people I've ever seen, these comments are like in the YouTube section, but in like other posts, like girls post pictures of themselves or whatever, you see like the wild spectrum of people making like insane comments that like they would never say in real life, but it's like it's wild. Like, and they click on their profile and it's like some 60-year-old man with like a wife and a bunch of kids. And
well,
you're
you know
like,
what's
what are you doing? Yeah.
you know what's really crazy is it also is like that on this. It's exactly what you're saying. Like I've had guys who are so funny in messages and text, and then you meet them in person, and they have nothing to say, like nothing.
Yeah.
Like you're like, and then like I once went on a date with this guy, and he literally said nothing, and it was so awkward. And after drinks, I was like, I'm just gonna head home. Like I didn't want to have dinner. And then he messaged me and said, "Hey, let's do this another time." I was like, "We said nothing." Like
And like in
after
his
like a
mind, it went well, kind of thing.
I think like all the conversations we had through text, he was having in his head.
Oh
like
yeah.
but in person, he exactly like people the behind the internet or behind the phone, they can be anything, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty quiet through messages. I don't say that much unless I know somebody through
Some people
text, and then
aren't big texters. Like my wife's got friends like that. She's like, oh, they give me like one word answers and whatever, but they're very pleasant in person and chatty. But some people just aren't, fast typers or don't like texting or whatever, right?
it's crazy. It is crazy,
But yeah, there's a
but it's
lot of people I'm sure that are just an absolute stump in person right now.
and it's nuts. It's nuts. Like I think exactly you said. It's so easy to be anything online.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
so easy. Do you I mean, like, do you still go out with the guys sometimes?
Um, not. I mean, I go four wheeling with my friends, like periodically. It's just I live, well, like roughly, where I'm at. So like my friends are kind of spread out a little bit, and so like I
Yeah.
live near where all the four wheeling is, kind of, and then so they have to come my way to go wheeling, which they will. But we kind of do that stuff. Like we'll go four wheeling and like that kind of thing. We don't really go out to restaurants and stuff. We have like on occasion, but yeah, typically it's like out in the woods, kind of horsing around.
Well, it's kinda nuts because like, I noticed, like, as we're, like, leaning more and more into online stuff, people don't really approach people that much. We still meet a lot of people out. I go out every weekend.
Yeah.
We still do meet people out, like, but I also lure it in. Like, I'm someone who, if I see an attractive guy, I look at them and I smile and then invites them into the realm of where we're standing.
Right.
But if we're not doing that, like very rarely do like guys just randomly come up anymore. And I have guy friends that even they're my friend and they'll see me out and they'll text me like, "Hey, I'm at the same bar." And they actually won't come up. And I'm like, I don't check my phone when I'm out. So I'm
Yeah.
not looking. He's like, "Yeah, you ignored me." And I was like, "We're friends. Like if you see me out, you can just walk over and say hello. Like you don't
Yeah.
you
Some
need to
people are
wait."
just, yeah, like in person, they're just, I mean, a lot of people in person are more shy and whatever, but the internet's made those kinds of people, they've been able to like reach out to, people. But when it comes down to being in person, eventually, like you go on a date and you're in person, even if you've established a connection online and you should have things to talk about, I guess some people they just don't thrive in person, right? They just don't have whatever it is. Like they're not social or quick witted or something, right?
There's also the opposite. There's the people that talk to so many people that they don't remember what the conversation they had with you.
Oh yeah,
I
I could see that.
I used to do that, and I
Yeah,
made a
shocking.
point of not anymore, but back in the day. But I used to so I made a point of never bringing up conversations that we had. Like I wouldn't be like, "Oh, so like you had sisters you said that live in this part of LA, but I never did shit like that. I made a point of like never bringing up past conversations or asking minuscule details that I knew I would have asked online, you know?
I just feel like
So
the energy pumped into like just having conversations with multiple people online would be exhausting for me.
it is exhausting. It's the same conversation. It's the same conversation over and over again.
Yeah, I suppose it would be. You're kind of like feeling each other out. So, where you're from? What do you do? What's your gross income? I'm assuming you're asking people.
Just what do you do? I can Google the rest. I can but but you ask like, oh, did you grow up here? Do you have family here? You ask things like that, you
Yeah, and it's
know?
like
So
20 different people. You're getting the same
mhm.
sort of go through the same checklist, right?
And nothing will deflate a date faster than when he brings up a fact or you bring up a fact about that person that wasn't something about them. Like
But
it was
I
another
see. I feel
person.
like everybody knows that the game. Everybody knows everybody's
You
talking to
do,
20
you
different people,
do.
right? You know.
You do, but you never want it like flat out said. And it's really interesting you say that because like I have a girlfriend who's like newly single again after a long-term marriage, and she's actually very respectful about it. Like she only like I get when you want something serious, you can't like date everybody. But in the beginning, you're just newly out there. You have to talk to a bunch of people, and they're talking to a bunch of people. And she's so respectful about it. Like she will talk to one and then like see how it goes and then talk to another and go out with him. And if it's kind of good, she'll just keep hanging out of guilt. And I always remind her, I said, this isn't like back in the day. Like, you don't have to feel guilty. We all are very well aware that we're all talking to and hanging out with a bunch of people. You just don't say it at
Yeah.
first. You know what I mean? Like, you just don't address it. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's so deflating when he's like, oh, yeah, so you're three sisters. And you're like, no, I only have one.
Oh, I'm
You
sorry.
know,
That's my
like,
8 o'clock.
yeah, yeah, like like it's like I know you know, but I don't need you to like blatantly like point out the
You need to
fact
do
that
it
you
like a job
forgot.
interview. Like you got to stack of resumes, and you're like, so it says here you've been in IT for 4 years.
Well, if you Uber to the date, you have time to like quickly scan what you've said.
Check their resume. Yeah.
Check the resume. It is a resume. It's definitely a resume. But you are right. Like everyone's talking to a bunch of people, so it's like an unspoken rule.
I think for me, it's
So
easy to think like, it's I mean, this day and age, like if you don't know someone at work and you don't do like social things, like you're not in like a softball club or whatever, how do you meet people, right? I mean, I guess there's no stigma to meeting people online, but I guess if you're on there and it's a volume game, right? There's got to be a lot of people. I don't know how you'd filter them down, short of like going on some dates and whatever else. Yeah.
and it really does suck because, like, if you don't like, to be honest with you, you get really tired of that in the long term too. I'm like 10 years into this,
Yeah, I
So
couldn't. The energy involved, I would just give up.
it does. And I remember when I had another girlfriend and she was like, I can't, like, one date a month is too much for me. And I was like, what? I was like going on like 3, 4, 5 dates a week. And I was like, what are you talking about? And now I'm like fucking old and I'm like, oh, one date a month is too much. Like, I don't
Yeah,
know how I had the energy, but at the same time, you have to play the game in order to meet somebody, right?
yeah, you would. I just find that it would be so drain. Like my social battery like runs out hard, and then I just couldn't imagine like that. It's fun meeting somebody new and chatting, whatever, but like yeah, just to keep the energy up, and it's like oh my god, I'm going through this again. Like
It's exactly like how you brought up the resume thing. It's exactly like applying for a job. It
yeah,
takes like there's first step one is applying, right?
yeah,
So you talk to a bunch of people. Step two is like filtering. Like
right,
anybody who gets back to you, like if they offer you an interview, you filter. And
yeah.
then step three is like the actually in-person interview. And
You should just
and
let me
then
screen your dates, and then when I get down to like a half decent 10, I'll forward them to you.
I had a guy friend, one of my best guy friends. They're a married couple and very we're like so much alike and very funny, everything. I love like he's like they were like I used to call myself their sister wife. Like they were they really like embraced me as a third wheel. And one time because he loved to hear the dating stories and he literally gossiped more than my girlfriend. Like, he was the and he one time was like, you're doing this all wrong. You're looking for the wrong qualities. Let me do this. For 1 week, I'm gonna like message, or like I don't know if it was a week, but he's like, I'm gonna message, I'm gonna swipe, I'm gonna message, blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna set up a date. I was like, okay. And he goes on Bumble and he swipes, and then he finds another guy that's like whatever. He talks to the guy all night long. He's having a great time. He's sitting on the couch, like literally enjoying the entire conversation, sets up this date. I go on this date. First of all, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, this guy is not my type like, at all. He's way too nice. I was about to kill my friend. I was like, this is like the exact opposite. He was only looking for like certain traits, which I know out of love he thought were best for me.
Yeah.
But also this guy kept bringing up parts of conversations, and I didn't want to be like, actually, you were having a conversation with the guy. Like I didn't want to say anything, but that like I couldn't say anything. But I was like, oh, that's the very last time I give my online app to
How
anybody.
quickly can you bail out of a date if it's just it's a fucking disaster?
It's really funny you say that because people ask, like people who are new to online dating always ask me that, like my friends when they go back onto it. So I always believe I have this thing about like not wasting calories.
Not
I don't
wasting
want to
what? Calories?
calories.
Oh
Yeah, like
god.
I don't want to get fat eating a meal that I'm not enjoying. I love
Okay, that
food.
makes
For me,
sense.
food is
Yeah,
a social thing. And I don't, and I love sharing food, and I don't enjoy sitting there eating when I'm not interested in the company. You know what I
yeah.
mean? So I don't like a guy asking me to like coffee. I'm old. I want to go for drinks,
See, for
But
me, it'd be coffee for sure first, just out the gate, and then if it sucks, then at least you're like, okay, I can bail in 20 minutes.
But
But
you can't. It's the same. The bailing thing is the same because I've tried the coffee thing too.
well, dinner's like a commitment. Like like you order Appies, and you realize that the guy's a crash test dummy. You're like, crap, I'm
But
stuck here for like 45 minimum 45 minutes.
But you don't really have to. Like, so when you first sit down, you order drinks. And then, like, within the first, like, 20, I mean, this is, I don't know, like, service isn't that quick. In
Yeah,
reality, I was just in
it's
Vancouver, it's still
crap
in
up here. I don't know
LA.
if you've been home lately, but
Oh,
it's
yes.
yeah.
Yes. It's such shit. Like, we sat at, I won't name the restaurant or get, like, anything, but we sat at one of the main chains one time with actually Big Show. And, like, we sat there for, like, 30 minutes before they asked for a drink, like,
Oh, it's brutal.
brutal. And so, I like you have enough time to just or you can just say I haven't looked at the menu yet. Like I don't look at the menu yet. I first order a drink. You try to like talk and see if there's some sort of chemistry.
Hmm.
In my eyes, I think the polite thing to do is say like, I don't really feel a connection. If the guy's arrogant, I'll say I don't really feel a connection. I think it's best to leave, you
Like
know?
before dinner, everything, hey?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, but think about it. Like, if you haven't looked at I never look at the menu right off the bat. So if you're not looking at the menu, no matter how many times the waiter comes, you can say like, we haven't looked yet. Give us time, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um,
Like to me, the coffee issue situation is like you have an open door to stay longer or go somewhere else after if there's a connection. But if it's just fizzling out, I would be like, it's easy to bail. But I can meet for
but
coffee.
it's not. It's the same. The trying to bail is the same. It's the same effect because I actually just recently, based on that same theory, because my girlfriend was like, "Oh, I prefer coffee. I prefer coffee because then I can lead." I went on a coffee date and the guy just talked and talked and talked and talked. And so, okay, well, I was gonna say too, like if the guy's really really nice, and I feel like maybe there's not an emotional connection, but maybe we can be friends and get along and maybe build a friendship. I would stay and see. But I don't believe you owe anybody anything. And if they're like rude or arrogant or the chemistry's really off or you really just don't feel it, I think the polite thing actually is to tell the person I'm not really interested in going further. Let's just kind of end it. Coffee, drink, whatever it is. I just think that's the polite thing. And you don't need to take the next step and order appies or whatever.
And
You
this
can
is like
spend
fairly standard amongst online dating people, or would somebody be like, what the
no, a
hell? I thought
lot
we
of
were going for dinner, right?
a lot of people I know will sit there and stay. They just stay and stay and stay and stay. And then they're miserable.
Yeah, that's how
If
I feel like it
someone
would go. Like only you would be like, I'm out of here. I don't see this work
like
conversation working out for me. And just like I'm going to the bathroom and then I just see you climbing out the window.
I've got more balls than that. I tell them straight up. But
Yeah,
you have
that's
to
true.
remember I'm in LA. There's arrogant fucking assholes. So if they're rude, I think the least I could do is also tell them I don't feel a connection. Again, if they're friendly and nice and I'm kind of think they're a good person, I may want to see what else there is as a friend. Or maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So I might stay. But coffee is no different. So like I recently went out with this guy for coffee and he was a nice person and I felt bad. Like when they're nice people, I feel bad just getting up. And he sat there for 3 hours. One, I was fucking starving. I was exhausted.
Yeah, that's fine. Well,
Like
I feel like you can be like, well, it's coffee. Like we're gonna stay for 3 hours. Like I got go get home and get some dinner. I got whatever. But yeah, I
But
mean,
you'd be surprised. Imagine you are enjoying it and I'm not. Why would you get up and have coffee? Why would
no,
you
that's
get up
what I
and
was
eat?
saying. Like if I went out with a girl and I was having coffee with her and we were there for like 20, 30 minutes, whatever, chatting 40 minutes, whatever. She's like, well, I got to get home and make dinner and whatever. Maybe it's because I pick up on social cues better than most people, but I'd be like, okay, well, we'll do this again sometime. And then if she didn't, if she's like, yeah, see you later. And then she just never expressed interest again in hanging out, I'd be like, okay, well, that's fine. But you can get out of there like without hurting anybody's feelings or whatever. But the,
But everyone's feelings get hurt regardless. Like if you're interested and they're not,
yeah,
you're gonna get upset. Like that's another thing too. Is like I like recently had someone else like, oh, the rejection part sucks, but it does suck. It does suck, but it's the reality of it. We all get rejected. Like the reality is we're all looking for somebody, something in somebody that no matter how amazing somebody is, like you could be the most amazing person in the world. If it's not that thing I'm looking for, it doesn't mean any less of you. It's not that I'm rejecting you. I'm
yeah.
just this situation or this coupling isn't what I'm
I just wonder how,
missing.
yeah, like a lot of, I imagine people are fairly self-aware. They're like, okay, it's like, it's not clicking or
Oh,
whatever, but it would be
what
hard if they were
society
like,
are you in?
I don't know. Like like I say, a lot of like my, late, like as I got older, I felt like I was a lot better at like self-reflection, and I didn't really take offense to shortcomings I had, I was, I don't care about that, or I'm trying to work on that or whatever. But I imagine a lot of people aren't that way and they're very easily
So
offended and stuff, right?
that's the key. You said I try to work on myself. So like for instance, like you can ignore someone on Bumble. They could keep message. Like literally, I can show you my text and I literally have to unmatch because for months a guy will every day say, hi, how's it going? How's it going? And you don't respond.
Yeah, I feel like some
And
people, it's just a numbers game. They just try and chat everybody up and see what happens, right? Yeah.
but if you say hi to someone 20 times and I'm not responding, at what point do you think that it's time to move on? Like, don't
Yeah.
you also like also like as a guy, as a human, if I keep messaging you even as a friend and you're ignoring me, or if you keep messaging me and I'm ignoring you, don't you eventually be like, fuck this person, they're clearly not interested in any sort of relationship, friendship, whatever?
Or do you get people like on Instagram that send you like 50 reels a day? Like,
No,
I
no, do you
can't,
get that?
dude, I can't.
Oh, you send me reels. You're one of the only
Oh
ones.
man,
You
like
didn't make sure.
two. Like, I don't say like, I'm talking like 20 in a row.
No, I don't get that.
Oh,
The
I got
only people
friends
that
that
send
do
me
that. And
reels,
I'm like, what am I even supposed to do with this? Like, there's like 20 of them. I'm like, I can't even, and I
do
could
you
see these
reply?
dating sites like that just getting like peppered with, hi, good morning, hi. It's like,
But
piss
if
off.
I'm not responding, why would you want to even
Yeah,
talk
like
to me?
two or
If
three
I'm
tries
respond
to reach out and then you like read the message and don't write
two or
back.
three, no, I think two is the max. I think if I
Yeah.
haven't responded by the second, it's insulting. Even as a friend, if I respond my message my friend twice, unless you're like a really, really good friend, I'll pick up the phone and call. But if I message you twice, I'm not gonna message a third time. Like, why would I want? Obviously, you don't want a friendship.
Yeah.
Like, you don't. People are attached to the phone. I literally told this guy recently. I was like, at what point? Because he was a psychologist, and I was actually shocked. I'm actually curious because I was like, as a psychologist, don't you know how the mind works? You know I'm attached to my phone. So at what point do you just think that, okay, she's clearly not interested? I'm
Yeah.
not responding to your messages. And it was like he had sent like 6 or 7. And he wrote back to me, he's like, actually, you're so childish. If you're not interested, you should have unmatched me. You're just keeping me to have numbers, which there's no numbers. I mean, they go down. It's not like it says like Sherry's had 200 matches. Like, actually, there might. I don't know, but I've never noticed.
Some people have cannot pick up on any sort of social cues though. Like if like you say exactly that. If I sent two or three messages to somebody and they like literally read them and didn't write back, I'd stop sending them messages. But like some people really don't get it. Like they'll just keep doing it.
What do you think as a guy? What's like, is me unmatching the better way to go,
Well, I
or
just feel like if
just
I was sending you
ignoring?
messages and you read maybe two of them or maybe three of them and didn't reply, I'd be okay. Well, either she's not a big phone person or she's someone that looks at her messages and thinks I'll get back to them later and just kind of forgets or whatever. But I certainly wouldn't just keep slamming somebody with messages, regardless of the platform or the intention, right? I have friends and even guy friends. I'm like, if some of them are big texters and we send memes back and forth and stuff, and other guys are like, we'll just pick up a phone and call me or whatever, right? So I'm not going to repeatedly send them stuff over and over again if I know that that's not really their thing, right?
What would you think is the appropriate response? Like to me, I don't think you have to unmatch them. I just think me not answering is
Yeah, I
a
don't think you have
natural
to owe
response.
anybody anything. I think if I messaged a girl 3 times and she read the message and never got back to me, I just move on. But like the dense people out there that have no pickup on that is wild, you know.
And actually, going back to something else, I didn't ask you. What do you think the appropriate response? Do you think the appropriate response, if I'm not interested, and let's say I'm arrogant and you're not, or like the guy's arrogant,
Mhm.
and I am not interested and he's being rude. Do you think me telling him I think we should just end the date is right, or should I continue through? Your personal, what do you think the
Yeah,
appropriate
I mean,
response
like in
is?
my thought, it depends. Like you mean like if you're out for dinner or something like that, should you see it to the end kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. Like in my, like I've gone out on dates, or maybe let me think here. I've been out with friends like for dinner and stuff, and there has been times where I'm like, I could really do with getting the hell out of here, right? You know, for one reason or another. But yeah, I wouldn't drag it out, but I wouldn't rush them out the door either, right? But then the next time I wouldn't, like, if I just wouldn't make plans again to, like, go out with them or whatever. But I definitely sort of like run it out to like a reasonable end, like have
You think
dinner.
it's more appropriate.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, in my
no, no,
experience,
I'm not offended because I've had so many people tell me like, how could you just tell someone you're not interested? I'm like, well, if they're not, like you
there's
think
nothing
of how
wrong with
like
being direct, and if you're dating, like I didn't date that much, right? So if you're dating a fair bit more, like I've been married for been together for 15 years, so that's 15 more years you've had of like meeting new people and going on various kinds of dates and stuff. So if I was dating more, I'm sure I would have come up with a different approach. But the fact that I dated quite little, that was how it was. But if I had gone on like quite a few more dates, I'm sure my answer would be different. I'd be like, oh, I don't have time to like be polite through a meal every time I don't click with someone. I gotta. But for me, the fact
well,
that I went on just a handful of different dates over the years, first dates, I would see it through the end. But if I was dating like regularly, I'm sure my answer would change, right? Yeah.
and you think that I would get better. Like sometimes I try to stay through the end because they're nice, and I hate every moment of it. But I think
Yeah.
they're a good
Do you
person, and I
find
don't
like you're
want to
just
kill the
bored, or
spirit.
you just like I don't know. I can chat with whoever really, like for a dinner. I can get through it, right? But like
Yeah, I do get bored because I feel like it's the same situation. If you're
yeah,
not interested in someone, you're not really that interested in their life either. Do you know what I'm saying?
right,
Like,
yeah, like as a
it's
friend or
actually,
whatever.
and if I think I can have a friendship, like we have some things in common, then I'm fine. I'm
Right,
totally fine,
right. If the
And I
guy's just
have
totally
built
like not happening though, yeah, yeah, I get it.
And I have built some great friendships from online from when I first moved here. Like really some of the best people I met when I first moved here were all from like Tinder and all that crap. Like I was so lucky to have met such great people when I moved here from online dating.
Yeah. There's a
But
lot of
I
people I know that are, great friends, and I would never date them. Like, they're like girls that are into cars or whatever that I grew up with. I was friends with when I was before I met my wife and everything, and we were never involved, right? Like, there's like a couple friends like that, like you say, if you can build a friendship with them, that's fine. And that's what it was. Like, we never went down the relationship road. We just always, like, say there may be like a friend's girlfriend or a friend's sister or something like that, where you were never involved with them, but like you're still friends, right? You know what I mean? And so I could see
exactly.
meeting someone and liking them and clicking with them, but not being interested in dating them.
Exactly, exactly. The only time it gets really hard is when you're not interested in a friendship and you're not interested in them romantically, but they're good people. And so you are torn. You're like, I don't want to insult him, but I
Yeah.
also feel like it's misleading to sit here and stay. So then you get torn. You're like sitting there and then you're having a conversation about their life and you have to ask them questions. Like,
Yeah, that would be
and
draining. Just like I said, the sheer like numbers. If you're going on like a norm number of dates, I could see that. I would probably have a
or it's
different
your
approach.
time. Like now that I'm older, I don't go on that many dates, but it's like I have in the past. So even if it's once a month, I've already done this game. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So it's
yeah,
like it does get draining, but it is a job. Like I tell people, you fucking have to do it. If you want to meet someone, there is no other way. Even if it's not online and it's in person, there is no other way. The only thing that I do find kind of sucks, like for instance, like I walk every day
yeah,
when I had Patience, and for everybody listening, Patience was my Rottweiler. But when I had him, it was people approached me all the time because, especially guys, because he's a Rottweiler, they would, want to pet him, they would want whatever.
yeah,
And now when I walk, like I very rarely have conversations with people. And like lately, I walk every day, and I go to Trader Joe's
yeah.
every day, and it's like an hour there, or like 40 minutes to an hour of the walk. And sometimes I'm by myself. And when I'm by myself, keep randomly bumping into this guy and we keep smiling at each other because he's walking his dog. I could do what other guys do and go up to the dog, but I don't know why. Like I already there's another Rottweiler on my walk. This sounds so stupid, and he's the cutest thing ever. And I get so excited to see him, and I never want to smell like another dog before I bump into him. I know it sounds so dumb, but this Rottweiler makes my day. And every time I've touched another dog or my friend comes with her dog, he's not that excited to see me. So I've like made a point of like not petting this guy's dog so I don't smell like a dog. But but he's cute and he's got this big husky and we keep smiling at each other, but no one's ever approached each other. And he's even driven past me because we're in the same neighborhood and he'll like smile as we catch eye in the car. And I realized like if this was 10 years ago, easily we would have talked to each other. And I still approach people, but when you're like at the bar, but when I'm out and about, it's not as simple as it used to be. Like before, even when I first moved to LA, guys would stop their car and walk over and talk, and you would talk to them because online dating was still fresh.
Yeah.
But we're so used to online dating, you're just like, oh, I hope I just match with him on Tinder later.
Yeah,
Like, you
people
know,
have
like,
lost that. That's a lost art. Going and just chatting with somebody, right?
exactly. Like there has to be a reason. Which actually, I'm lucky he has a dog. So I told myself next time I'm by myself, he's got the dog. I'm going to do something, but I haven't seen him all week. But
Well, a lot of guys too this day and age, you just don't want to like everyone doesn't want to come off like a creep or like being too forward or whatever. So like I think a lot of guys just like hold back and they're like, you know what, like I could go say something, but then every time I see her now it's gonna be weird because like I see her all the time in the elevator or whatever it may be, right?
that is true.
Like
I hear that a lot from guys that they feel like anything they say to women now, if like they don't want to come off aggressive, they're scared.
you don't even
So they
think
don't.
like it's things you didn't even think about that people are getting worked up about now. So you're like, you want to go say hi to somebody or whatever, but then it's just I feel like a lot of guys just err on the side of caution and just don't bother. Unless you're in a bar or something like that. But I think alcohol is involved. I think people just are like, for the most part, like just don't take the shot because it's just like, it
I
doesn't
actually
pan out a lot.
I have a guy friend that recently told me that he saw a really cute girl at Costco and he went up to her and she said like, "Oh, what? I can't even grocery shop and not be approached nowadays." And I was like, "What? If a guy approached
Yeah.
me at Costco, I would be so excited."
It's wild that women act like that or anybody acts like that. But like, you can't be, I don't think you can be like bitchy because someone's just, saying
I
hello
think
or
you could
whatever.
just be polite about it. Like, you can say like, "Oh, I have a boyfriend," or like
Yeah.
when I'm not interested, I tell people like, "Oh yeah, like I have a boyfriend." I still
Yeah, well, even if
appreciate
even
being
if the
approached.
person's just like, "Hey, how you doing?" You're just like, "Oh, hey, good. How are you? Good." And then you just continue to walk about off. Like the guy's gonna figure out pretty fast that you're not interested. You just don't have to be rude. You just be like, "Oh, hey, how are you? Oh, nice, not bad. You all right? Have a good one." And just keep going. Like sometimes
That
if I'm
is
walking
true.
around work and I'm in a bit of a rush, I'll kind of do that. Like someone will be like, "Hey, what's going on? Hey, how you doing?" But I'll kind of just keep walking because I'm like, I got shit to do, right? So I just acknowledge them, say, "Hey," but then I just keep going. I don't engage the rest of the conversation.
Yeah, that is true. That is true.
But
But we
I'm
do.
telling
I
you,
mean,
like
we
guys though, I'm sure don't want to. They're hesitant to approach women just because of they don't want to seem pushy or whatever, right? Like he's
you
exactly that. You're afraid of some girl going off the deep end, and be like, I just can't like just go about my business without getting harassed. It's like, well, hardly saying hello is hardly harassment, right? But
as an outsider, do you think it's easier for girls to go up to guys and vice versa now?
I don't know. I mean, there's other considerations, but I think like no guy is gonna just like flip out and start saying things like that. Oh, I can't just go about my business without girls harassing me. Like a guy's not gonna say
That's
that.
true.
Like the worst case, he might just keep on going or be like, oh, I'm married or whatever. But I think
That
there's a way
that is
bigger
true.
chance of blowback of a guy approaching a girl than a girl approaching a guy. I can't imagine any guy get fired up too much.
That is true because even as a married guy, if a random girl came up to you, you would lose your mind. You would probably say like, "What? I'm
No,
not.
you just
What?
act
I'm
nice
married."
and have just say how you doing. Yeah, nice. See you later. And you just act, just be polite and then move on. Like you don't have to hang around.
You know, one thing I absolutely crawls under my fucking skin is, and I never notice rings. Because I don't look. I just assume if someone's talking to me, they're not married. Like I'm not
Yeah,
very zoned in. I'm also not a very detail oriented person. I can look up someone's outfit from head to toe, but I'm not like their nose is like this, their fingers are like this, their ring was. I don't
yeah,
look. And one thing that crawls under my skin is when I'm out of the bar with my girlfriend and we are looking to meet guys. And then some married guys, which happens all the time. My girlfriend is very good at catching this. They'll just start talking to us. And because I'm social, I'll talk and I'll be talking. I'm not interested in the guy. And then be married, and there'll be like 3 married guys. And I don't know if they're wanting to cheat or they're not wanting to cheat or whatever it is, but why are you wasting my fucking time? Like, I'm clearly
Yeah.
not married.
Yeah.
I am I got dressed. I'm out here. I want to meet guys. I don't fucking want you wasting my time where I can be talking to some other guy. And it's always like 10, 15 minutes into the conversation. And I actually like just recently told these guys, once my girlfriend told me in person, she's like, "Oh, look, they all have rings." I was like, "Do you guys mind moving along? You're wasting our time." Because
It's a weird place for married guys to hang out, but I mean, I don't try to judge because I don't hang out at bars or
and
whatever. But
the guy turned around and said, "I wasn't hitting on you. I was just having a conversation. You seem like you're easy to talk to." And I was like, "I get it. I didn't think you were hitting on. I didn't think he was hitting on me, but I'm also here to meet someone, and you are just cock blocking the whole situation. Like
yeah,
you standing there where there's no end for us is wasting my time and my ability to meet somebody, and it just crawls under my skin."
so I wonder if like yeah, it's they have no bad intentions and they're just like being out socializing. I mean, girls go to the bar and genuinely say, "Oh, we're just here to have fun and chat and dance and do
Totally
whatever."
fair.
So I wonder
To-
if guys do that. I have my suspicions that's not the case, but they might
no,
be.
but
Man, maybe they
they
just
really
like
might
dancing, right?
be. They really, really might be, and I'm totally cool with that. I'm totally okay with that. But I just don't feel it's fair that this. I didn't come out here to socialize with you to entertain you. I really came out here to meet someone. I also too want to be married. So
Yeah.
you talking to me stops another guy from talking to me that I could potentially
I
meet.
do wonder why like a married guy would stop and talk to you, um, like in a bar or whatever. Like I don't know. It's
Especially like if you're with other guy friends, the way I see it, like if you came, like they didn't come alone, like they came with there were 3 of them. So just talk amongst your fucking selves. Like
yeah,
don't
that's
talk
true. It is a
while you
weird
and
place to hang out if you're married. I find like it just there's
I
nothing
don't. I
wrong with
really,
it, but
really don't.
I don't get it. You know.
I don't. I really don't. I think guys should have guys night. I don't mind that at all. It's really not that. I just don't want them ruining my aspect. Maybe if I was, even if I was married and they were married and we were talking, I wouldn't assume they're hitting on me. I would just assume we're two people talking. But because it's like getting ready to go to a concert and then the someone coming and singing the opera, and you're like, well, I came here
Yeah,
to
it's not
watch
what
a
I'm here
band.
for. Yeah.
Yeah, like you know
I
what I
it
mean?
is
It's not.
strange that three guys would go to a bar and like other what else would they be doing there, right? But and especially like you say, why are they approaching you? If you're here to have a good time, you just want to, hang out after work. Why are you approaching girls? Like
It's totally like and I'm not even mad at that as much as I'm mad at them ruining my opportunity. Like I didn't come for this show. I came for a
yeah.
different one. Like, so
I just don't. Yeah, I don't understand it. And a lot of guys probably are just trying to see what they can get away with or whatever. But some guys might just be there to hang out. But again, then why are they approaching you guys, right?
exactly. It is weird because like I wouldn't think it's as weird maybe if they were talking to somebody else who also had a ring, but
Yeah,
when we're like clearly standing around the bar with hoping like when you're standing around the bar and it's kind of like in LA there's a lot of like loungy restaurants, so like you go to a restaurant but everyone hangs out, like the single people or the people that want to meet people, like they kind of hang out at the bar area and order drinks and they stand around. Well, that's kind of asking to be hit on.
right. Yeah,
So when married guys come up to me, even if they're just bored and they want to conversate, it just really pisses me off. It's like, I'm standing here, I don't have a ring, I've
I
got
just
an
don't. Yeah,
outfit
I don't
on.
understand what a married guy's doing in a situation like that anyway. Like unless he's, I don't know. Again, it's never been my scene. Period. So like, I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine just be like, I'm gonna go to like a local restaurant and just with 2 buddies and like drink beer and stand around the bar. Like we'd sit at a table and have something to eat maybe and then bugger off. But like we wouldn't just be like loafing around. I don't know. It's a weird.
I see what you're saying. You're saying I wouldn't be standing around that bar the same reason, because the reason I'm standing at the bar as a single person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I'd
why
just be
would you
sitting at
as
a
a
table,
married
have dinner, and then
person
get
do
out of
it?
there. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Well, we're doing our listeners a favor and cutting it down to between 40, 45 minutes. Let's wind down.
So,
I guess next week we'll do it again. And
yep.
yeah, welcome. Thanks so much for listening. And, follow us on the perfect_X. And if you have any sign off you want to say.
Nope. Bye bye, internet.
All right, I'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, you bet. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.